lovely flight, everybody. Woo! Here's to making memories. Would anyone like any in-train entertainment? Okay. When the night is cold and the land is dark.
Those videos you just saw are people doing rejection therapy. Apparently, it's meant to be quite good for you, so I'm going to try it out. Hi, can I come sit down at your table?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thank you.
How's your day gone?
Not bad, yeah.
I'm doing a bit of a social experiment in putting myself out there. I was wondering if you were going to say no, actually.
It's someone I'm meeting's in the toilet. So
Oh, really? So when she comes back, I'm going to have to skedaddle.
possibly, yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for letting me join. Going a little bit more bold this time. Let's see. Hi. How are you doing? Would you like an orange? It's a clementine, technically.
I always was wondering, clementine, satsuma, tangerine or mango?
How do you know the difference?
I don't.
Should we share it?
Can do.
Go on, show me your peeling abilities. Hiya. Good afternoon. How are you doing? Can I drive your cab? Can I? Can I get behind the wheel? Don't be silly. Coming somewhere else to try and face my fears. Maybe do a bit of shopping. I was wondering, can I have a nap in one of these beds? Can I just try it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, how long can I stay here for? Like 15, 20 minutes, is that all right?
Are you making the video or something?
I am, yeah. Do I have to take my shoes off?
No, I can give you actually there is a mat there.
Oh, wow, I can actually get in the bed. Okay,
You can
great.
do it.
Wow, I didn't expect that one to be a yes. I'm going to snuggle. So this is what that TikTok trend actually feels like, and after doing it a couple of times, it wasn't as bad as I thought. So yeah, maybe you can build a tolerance for that feeling of being rejected. And today, that is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to look at what rejection therapy is and if it can actually help social anxiety. I'm Hannah Gelbart, and this is What in the World from the BBC World Service. I'm in the studio and we have Claudia Hammond, a psychologist and BBC presenter, back on the podcast. Hey, Claudia.
Thanks for having me. How are you? You were very brave.
Yes, I've been doing some really weird things.
How did you find it?
The funny thing is, I was most anxious before it actually started. So when I was thinking about going and speaking to people, what I was going to do, what I was going to say, and actually walking up to the first person, I felt my adrenaline really spiking. I'm not a socially anxious person. I think I'm really confident. But that first thing really scared me. And once I'd done one, the second one came easier and the third one came even easier. And, you know, by the fourth time, I didn't even mind it whether they said yes or no.
Was that because people were so nice to you, really?
Yeah, most people just wanted to chat. You know, I went and did my little experiments and then they wanted to have a follow-up conversation for the next 10 minutes. People were so friendly and welcoming and I really didn't expect that.
Yeah, this is what people find, really, in experiments where they get people to talk to strangers deliberately. Actually, most of the time, people get a really good response. It's actually quite rare to get rebuffed.
Why do you think this trend is gaining so much momentum now? Is it because younger people feel that they have more social anxiety?
Well, I think it's really interesting because obviously we have, you know, lived through the pandemic, and so some younger people have missed time at school or maybe time at college, university, and just had a time when they couldn't socialise for a while. And so that can make coming back to socialising more difficult. What we do know is that there is an increase in perfectionism. People are more worried now, younger people, about how other people are judging them. And so I wonder whether that might make people more shy of speaking to strangers, worried that the people will, you know, not appraise them in a good way. And so doing something like this to try to counter that might feel like a positive step to people that they're trying to do something. Also, they're fun to watch. You know.
They are fun to watch and they feed into that algorithm, don't they? And I'm guessing that you can take that into your everyday life. You can put yourself out there at work. You can pitch that idea to your boss or whatever. But the stakes do feel a little bit different, don't they? If you're putting yourself in that kind of situation where you're asking for something or going out of your comfort zone in a work environment or a family environment, in a relationship, the stakes are a little bit higher if they say no.
Yes, it is different if you are inviting rejection in that way. And people, we hate rejection. You know, you can do brain studies where the brain centres of the brain are activated that would normally be activated for pain. You know, we find social rejection really painful. You can just get people to play computer games where they get left out. You know, people are throwing the ball across the screen, never throw it to you. And we start to show these pain responses because we really, really do hate rejection.
Why is that? Why are we so afraid of rejection?
I think in one way we have evolved to be very social beings. We need to get on with other people. Humans do survive by cooperating.
And actually, by the willingness of strangers to do things and cooperate with me, made me feel much more included.
Yeah, so in fact, you weren't getting rejected, really. You know, in a way, the idea of this self-help technique, you know, it's not a proper form of therapy. It's not been tested. But the idea is that you get used to being rejected. But actually, what you found was that most people were nice to you. So you weren't really being rejected. You were actually discovering that strangers are really nice, which is exactly what the research shows.
It depends on how mad the idea is. Obviously, a taxi driver's not going to let me behind the wheel of his taxi. I'm not insured and he doesn't know I'm not going to crash his car. So this trend, it's based on something called exposure therapy. Can you talk me through where that comes from and what the point is?
Yeah, so exposure therapy was developed across the 1950s and 60s. Sometimes it's called systematic desensitization. And the idea is usually gradually you get used to the thing you're afraid of. So I don't know, if you're afraid of spiders, then you start looking at some pictures of spiders. And you are taught at the same time by a psychologist to deal with the stress of that reaction, perhaps taught some breathing exercises, and very gradually you might build up to seeing a real spider, a tiny one, and you might end up in the end maybe holding a tarantula in the end if you get there. And this can be done for social anxiety as well. And it's all often part of cognitive behavioural therapy. The behavioural bit that many people have these days, the behavioural bit is going out there and doing these things. But it would be done very gradually and with the support of a therapist.
I started rejection therapy about 2 years ago, and I started it because I found self-development after going through mental health struggles, and I felt like I'd reached a wall on my journey. I'd learned all I could learn at that time in my life, and then I came across the concept of rejection therapy, exposure therapy, this whole idea of putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to overcome your fear, and I honestly never expected it to change my life in the way it has. And it happened so quickly as well. Within 3 days of me doing rejection therapy, I noticed this inner confidence coming out. The fear of rejection keeps us in this bubble and it limits us. And by doing rejection therapy, I feel like it's opened the doors to life. It's popped that bubble and gone, oh, you know, being judged and perceived isn't actually as scary as I think. Oh, I am in control of how I feel. Oh, if someone rejects me, I decide how that makes me feel. That is life-changing.
So, Claudia, what are some of the benefits of being rejected?
I mean, in a way, I think the benefits are more the benefits of speaking to strangers and finding out that most people are nice, rather than the hardening yourself to the rejection. In a way, if you want to harden yourself to rejection, a better way of dealing with it is to ask, is there something else going on for people when they're mean to you? So if, I don't know, if a friend cancels an evening out and you assume, well, this is clearly because they hate me and they're always going to hate me and everyone hates me. Actually, what's going on for them? Are they just exhausted? Have they had a really bad day? What's going on in their life? Or if someone is a bit rude to you offhand in a shop, you don't know what's going on for them. So I think a more effective way is to ask, interrogate why someone has rejected you.
So that's kind of developing empathy, putting yourself in their shoes and thinking about what might be going on for them.
And to think it's not all about us.
Yeah,
it's not always about us. It really is.
I'm so guilty of that. I'm sure we all are. Obviously, I did my experiment here in London in the UK, and we've got one very well-known set of social rules. We tend to be quite cold, particularly in big cities, I think. But this is different in different parts of the world. Other cultures are so much warmer when it comes to making conversation with strangers.
Yeah, there are real variations around the world in kind of what the social rules are about when you do and don't talk to strangers. So it will really depend on where you live, and that you kind of need to get it right for the place that you live in. And I can remember, coming back from travelling, I was travelling around Australia and just got used to chatting to everybody, and then getting back on the tube in London and suddenly chatting to everybody and realising people aren't necessarily liking this. I'm not backpacking now. This is a kind of different situation. So you do need to tailor it to your situation.
I want to bring it back to some of the weirder experiments that we have been, seeing on TikTok and Instagram regarding rejection therapy and this trend, and the ethics really of involving strangers in this kind of experiments. You are asking people to do things. You're either filming yourself or sometimes you're filming them as well. Does the fact that it's being filmed change the outcome of the experiments, and is it okay to do this kind of thing with strangers?
Yeah, I think there are real ethical issues around it, because particularly if the person is being filmed as well, and as you say, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't, that makes them feel uncomfortable. But even just knowing the situation is being filmed might make people feel uncomfortable and suspicious. And also, we don't kind of want to stop people being nice to people. And if you realise that, oh, actually, this was all just kind of done for a laugh, then people may feel it was slightly at their expense. And
Maybe they might feel used.
they might feel used and then not be as nice to someone who really does need some help the next time. So I think do it, warily, and think of, again, empathy. It's about thinking of how this might be taken by the other person at the same time.
So maybe do it, but don't film it. Don't just farm it for content,
Yeah.
as it were. Thank you so much, Claudia.
Thanks for having me.
Before I go, I want to shout out some of the comments that we have been getting on our YouTube channel. So we did an episode about how much talc is in our makeup and cosmetics. And Rose said that after watching this podcast, I checked the components of my beauty products. I believe we should be responsible for our health. And we got this from Stella. She asked, do all product descriptions explicitly state that they contain talc? And I looked into this. It does depend what country you're in, but cosmetic regulations mostly do require talc to be listed in the ingredients if it's present. So I hope that helps to answer your question. And if you have tried rejection therapy, if you think it's a good idea or a bad idea or something that you would never, ever, ever put yourself up for, please do let us know in the comments. Also get in touch with us on Instagram. Our handle is @BBC What in the World. I'm Hannah. This is What in the World from the BBC World Service, and we'll see you next time.